Here's a place where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while, because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys. Welcome back to our Safe Space, my friends. Today I have Lora Cheadle here. She is a life choreographer, a channeler, I would say an empowerment coach. She honestly has a long list. Radio host, speaker. She channels these beings called the Librarians, which we are definitely going to get into today. But first, I wanted to start off by not only introducing her, but get into how she went from a corporate life into channeling and into empowering others to just find themselves, direct themselves back to their heart space, and then live with the purpose that they're supposed to. So Lora, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to sharing all of this.
Reading through your information, I'm like, I wonder where I should even begin this story. You have such a powerhouse resume that I've read anyways, but the work that you're doing now is definitely of high interest to me, especially when I see a channeler in the emails that I'm reading. So I mean, let's just back this up a minute before we get into the work that you're doing and tell me how this transition came about in your life.
It was not a transition I ever anticipated or really saw coming. I started off as a corporate attorney. So I was very much in my head doing things right. You know, it's like you got to get the right degree, the right grades, do everything right. And I did. I was really focused on doing what I was supposed to do. And there was a lot that was great about it. You know, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot that I really enjoy about practicing law because I'm a huge advocate for justice. Justice means a lot for me. But life is also really hard. And I had 2 kids in 22 months. My husband traveled. 3 out of 4 of my grandparents all passed away within a little bit over a year of each other. I mean, just so much was going on. And corporate life doesn't really honor and respect that. So I thought, you know what? That's okay. I can walk away. I've always been passionate about wellness and dance and, you know, mindset and spirituality. So I'm just going to step away. I'm going to create my own business around wellness. And I'm just going to really lean into all of that holistic body, mind, spirit stuff. And I did. And I did it as a fairly part-time job because I had so much to contend with in my everyday life. And I raised my kids, and it's hard work. And just as my youngest was graduating from high school, I was like so happy. I could finally start traveling with my husband because he still traveled all the time. I could finally start doing things for me because I had never really done things for me. And I was like, this is it. This is the highlight of my life. And that's when I found out my husband had been cheating on me for 15 years. Yes, with multiple women. And that everything I thought was true about my life, our great relationship, none of it had been true. And I cannot even tell you how destabilizing that was. It was utter devastation, and I did not see how I could ever get through it. And I felt like the biggest imposter. Who am I to be talking about joy and wellness and empowerment when I didn't, and intuition, when my whole life had fallen apart and I didn't even know it. So I definitely went into a dark space. And then it makes me cry to think about it. I started getting all of these realizations that everything I had done up until that point had prepared me for this. My flaunt framework was really like a betrayal-recovery framework. This information that I had been getting was actually channeling. It all came together, and that's when things really launched. I launched my business around empowering people, moving through trauma. I actually worked things out with my husband. He started dealing with his childhood trauma that he never dealt with. I had to get so vulnerable and authentic with myself about all the ways I had been abandoning myself, seeking to please, proving my worth. And it was the most difficult thing that I ever went through, but it was also the biggest awakening, connecting me to myself, to my guides, the librarians, to other people. And it really made me realize, like, no, 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 you're not an imposter for going through this. I was the imposter for not having gone through it.
So did you feel like for a greater part of your marriage and your motherhood journey that you were doing things to receive love and not necessarily out of them, but then in the illusionary state that we all live in those times, you're like, no, I'm doing this because I love. I'm this because I'm love. And then when you started going through the work, you're like, all of my acts come from like a core wound that I've never looked at.
Yeah, yeah, there was this performance, yes, I'm an achiever, I like to achieve. Why? There was this level of performance that I had never really realized. It was like, "No, no, no, I excel because that's who I am. No, I do this because that's who I am." Well, yes, it's a part of who I am, but it was performance. It's this perfection. Well, I like things perfect. Well, I do, but no, there was that deeper layer, and I hadn't seen it at all.
So, not to get too detailed about this,
Mhm.
but 15 years is a long time.
Oh my gosh.
Absolute long time. Like, just from my experience of not even being in a marriage betrayal situation, but I'm thinking of, like, my younger years when I got cheated on, you think of how long it's happened. So in your mind, you're like, every memory that we shared together was a lie then, because
Yeah.
you're continuously going off. So not only did you go down a dark path of, kinda ripping up the pavement on the last 15 to 20 years, but is that the moment that made you realize, like, not necessarily that you don't have any love for yourself, but you were continuously abandoning yourself for other people? And had this obviously not come to light, do you think that you would still be in the same situation that you're in the same illusions? Like, where you are in your healing now, do you see it as, like, a true gift that you had this, like,
Yeah.
crazy train wreck experience?
Yes. It's a huge gift, and it humbles you so much. Um, and it also brought me so much compassion and understanding, because on that human level, it's the illusion of right and wrong, good and bad. If he cheats, you leave. If this happens, it's wrong. If someone cheats, they don't love you. And it opened me up to all of the complexities of all of that. There were so many ways I was deeply loving to myself and to others, and yet like that, there were also so many ways I was abandoning myself, and I was seeking to prove my worth, and I was seeking to, as I say, please, conform, and perform. And then same thing, like with my husband, he was in such pain, which is why he cheated, but I never saw that, and he couldn't express that. And there's just so many complex layers. And it brought me that gift of compassion for myself, for him, and also for everybody involved in the situation, because it was a situation born of pain, and there's a lot of pain for a lot of people, and they're all just trying to find that self-love.
That's a very high way to think about it, though, because when you do want to be human about it and have those dualistic thoughts, the
Yes.
right, the wrong, the back and forth, the energetically, when I get into those situations in my mind, I think of something I learned from Hans Wilhelm, and he said that every prisoner needs a guard. So every time you
Mhm.
do hold those people in contempt for their actions, for their bad, for this, for that, that you're putting them in a prison suit in a jail, and now you're energetically connected to them, like the guardian of that pain. So
Yes.
you talk about, oh, I found a tremendous amount of compassion, because you even said, like, you took the time to talk with him about this and not get into the long-standing affairs that had happened for so long, but why do you do this? And I think that takes a tremendous amount of healing and understanding on your part, instead of turning it into kind of like a Miranda Lambert, Carrie Underwood song, you know, before she, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, I want to keep asking questions, but I'm still extremely floored by how you handled the situation after having so many things ripped apart at one time.
Mm-hmm.
When you go, obviously the illusions are stripping down in your life. I know what that feels like. It's completely destabilizing and disorienting outside of the relationship aspect. So when did the realization of channeling and the librarians come into place? It had to have been around this time, especially when you got into a tremendous amount of vulnerability and healing work.
Yeah, absolutely. And the timelines were interesting because right before, okay, backing way up, I've always considered myself to be intuitive. I've always known things. I've always been able to get information, through other people's energy fields. So I've always been very intuitive. Way back, I don't know if you ever remember Doreen Virtue, who did like all the angel therapy and stuff.
I do remember her, yes.
Yeah, I went to one of her trainings to be an angel intuitive. So I've done a lot of work in that spirit realm. And I'm like, yes, I'm connected. Yes, I can feel this. Well, right before all of this came out about the infidelity, I channeled this 5-step framework, this flaunt framework. And I thought, oh, this is so interesting. And I'd be working out, which is a way that I channel a lot is movement. And I'd be working out and I'd be getting this framework and this information, like when we're hurt, we crumple in. And then the more we crumple, the more our energy spirals down. And the way to heal that is to flaunt, to elevate, to rise that energy, to open yourself up when you feel the need to protect. Because as we shield, we block ourselves off. So it's about dropping the shields. It's about raising it up. And I'm like, this is brilliant. And I'm thinking, dang, Lora, you're so smart. Where did this come from? You are so smart. Well, it was amazing. It's an amazing framework. And I wrote a book proposal and I sent it to an agent. The agent picked me up. The agent sent it out to New World Library. They picked it up. And I'm like, you're amazing, Lora. You've got this framework. This is great. And it was interesting because my publisher kept saying, but what specifically is this framework for? And I'm like, well, it's just for wounding. And she's like, well, I know, but it needs a better hook. Wounding is so broad. What is that hook? And I'm like, I don't know what that hook is. It's just wounding. Well, then this whole thing happened. I paused my book contract a little bit. I go in this deep, dark place and I realize I channeled my own solution before this happened. And that's when I really started connecting to this magical voice inside of my head is I'm channeling a group of things. It's not just my own intuition. It's part of me because I'm connected, because we're all connected. But this is actual channeling. So that's when I started talking and asking, like, who are you? Who am I channeling? And that's when they told me they were the librarians. So I'm saying the librarians of what? Because I had heard about the Akashic records. And I'm saying, are you the librarians of the records? And they're saying, no, but we are a part of that realm. Who we are is we are the guardians of the lessons. Each soul has their own record book, but the lessons, the collective lessons, we record that. So if there's the lesson of overindulgence, every soul who has ever gone through the challenge of overindulgence, that wisdom is collected in a book. Betrayal, humans go through betrayal. We are collecting the wisdom around that lesson, that challenge, and that's who we are. And then as I started talking to them and understanding, that's how that really opened up for me.
That makes a lot of sense on the collective consciousness wavelength that I like to speak in sometimes. And when you take the emotions out of it and you're just saying like, oh, it's almost like we're just doing research.
Yeah.
It does take the pain away for a minute, because I don't think betrayal is talked about enough. That's what I like so much about your work is, yes, wounding, your agent is right. Very, very broad term. So many things could be wounding, but a betrayal wound is something that is so easily overlooked with the anger and the justification and the condemning and just still the lack of looking at yourself when you're going through those moments. So when you were like, this is about betrayal, this is about coming back to yourself,
Yes.
how were you able, definitely in bulletin points, but how were you able to put yourself back together again, have that realization, this is about betrayal. Like I received my work before I was getting ready to go through it. What other trainings, I guess you could say, or even like meditations did you do to really strengthen your relationship with the voice with the librarians?
Mhm. And I wanna be clear, I would be a messy, horrible, awful human and cry and lay on the floor, and then I would bounce to the spiritual point of meditating, channeling, and then I would be the human and I'd be like, "I hate everybody." It's like I would go back and forth. It wasn't just like, "Oh my gosh, I experienced this whole thing and I just moved into love and it was all okay."
I love
You
that you
know?
did
It wasn't.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, I
Those are
did.
important parts to definitely, like, talk about, because 'cause you're right, a lot of the marketing is like, "If you do this meditation, everything's gonna be beautiful." It's like, "No, you're going to be sobbing on the ground crying, you have to be human, right?
Yes.
You do have to go through it."
Yeah. So yeah, I was very human. I did a lot of just channel writing and journaling. I listened to anybody, but Esther Hicks gave me a lot of peace. For
Mhm.
some reason, just listening to her voice, I couldn't sleep, and I would just play YouTubes of her and just her voice channeling. Abraham brought me so much peace. I did some betrayal recovery coaching. I did therapy. I was so desperate. I did it all. I did Reiki, I did energy work, like, you name it, I'm gonna try it because I hurt so bad, I will try anything.
Mhm. Yeah, that
So
makes sense, and I think whether it's the pain that pushes you to know, I think it's the direct experience you're having with things that you'd never thought in a million years that you would experience. So for me, I became super hungry about knowledge.
yes.
I'm like, what is this? Okay, I had this experience. Like, I've had the metaphysical aspect of it, I've had the spiritual. Like, can we bring some science in really quick? Like, how do we ground this? How do I integrate this in my daily life? And
Yeah.
because I was able to still think in that framework while I was moving through deconstructing so many things, eventually I would just have like a mirror day where I would be like, did I accidentally attach labels to me that I didn't mean to, even like a spiritual aspect? So I would
Mhm.
go and I would like rip everything off of me again. And I would pick up things that at the time I'm like, oh, this is definitely for me. And I'm like, no, it's just two sentences I needed from this to add on to my collection and in my book, not necessarily take somebody else's work and be like, "Okay, this is my Bible now. This is my belief system. I'm gonna go." Like, there's so much breaking that I don't think people really grasp until they get into the work. I try to explain it the best I can to people, but it ends up getting, like, weird and scary at some points because I'm like, You're breaking things in your brain, and you're replacing them with things that you want there. And in order to
Yes.
do that, you gotta, break down, and it does get dark. You mentioned the darkness that you went through. A lot of people in a spiritual or even a religious context call it a dark night of the soul, but I think it's really just taking a really hard look in the mirror.
Mhm. It
And
is.
someone who's a high achiever, like, let's get into that from your perspective. What does that look like to be feeling like you're so in control, but finding out that you haven't had as much control the whole time as you thought?
Yeah, it's hard, and also just the whole juxtaposition really that if I can create my own reality, and I believe I can create my own reality, then why do I have to build something that doesn't work and then I have to break it? And then I have to build something up again and then I have to break it because it's this process. Okay, my whole life was broken for me. So now I can rebuild it my way. Now I can, manifest. Well, you start building things up and then you realize, but this isn't what I wanted either. And it's so hard, that back and that forth, and then it makes you feel like, "Am I not successful? Am I not that smart? What am I doing wrong that I can't get this right?" And then for me, I really had to make peace with the fact that life is an experience, and it's not about just building it once and getting it right. And that's what I looked back on my whole, young adult years. You go to college and get the right degree. You go to grad school, you get the right grades, you get the right job. I marry the right man. I have the right number of kids. It's like this building it and I am set. And it's like, that's not what it is. It's about constant creation and rolling with things and changing it. And even right now, that can be wildly uncomfortable because I want things set. I don't want to have to keep doing the work, but it is ever evolving. And I really feel like when we stop evolving is when our spirit dies. It is about that evolution. But boy, sometimes just I want to stop and rest.
Mhm. Well, that's a great thing that you bring up because when you were speaking, I was thinking of how do you know if you're just in like a plateau learning space? And since you're so used to moving and transforming and healing and learning new things, you're like, you're not stuck. You're here for a reason learning stuff. But then there are other times where you're like, okay, you've stayed too long. It is time to move on. So do you have like a balancing process that you work with to make sure that you can, I guess I'm just referring to like a self-auditing system to move
Yes.
through things.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you, it's that mirror work. I take time. I consciously try to take time every day, if possible, just to reflect on where am I on the map? Where am I in the universe, on the planet? And it's not like it has to even be deep and pages and pages in my journal. Yes, there are times when I go outside, I sit at the fire pit, I play music and I journal and I think and I sit in silence and I do all that. But I do try at the start of every day, at the end of every night, just to give myself at least a moment and be like, where am I in the flow? Is today a resting and receiving day? Is today, a releasing of something? Is today a work day? What is it energetically that I need to do today to keep me in balance? And when I don't know, that's when I will do, a prayer, ask my guides, whatever, guide me, help me. I'm not sure where I'm at today. Give me some insight.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's that fast. Guide me, help me, give me some insight.
Yeah, which way is my Sims character supposed to go today?
Exactly.
Is what I say. I have some of those I feel like I'm a bobblehead day where I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing today.
Yes. Yeah.
I love the tap of the inner guidance that you have. Do you have advice for anybody that wants to get in? I don't want to say get into that type of work because I do believe we're all intuitive beings, but if you find yourself wanting to be more in tune and trust your intuition, what would be some advice that you would give a beginner?
I think the best advice is just ask yourself whether you are used to calling people and asking them, hey, Cheyenne, what do you think about? Or whether you're used to sending a text or an email or whatever that mode is that you usually do to reach out to other people, literally reach out to yourself. I send myself texts. I'll be like, what do you think about this? Sometimes I'll just ask myself in my head, but I ask myself the question that I would ask my guide, my mentor, a religious leader, whoever it is in your life. Just ask yourself that question and then be quiet for maybe 30 seconds and just see what comes in because an answer will come in. It just will.
Oh, I believe you on that. I've had enough spooky experiences to be like, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But we always want to make sure that our beginners have a nice grounded guide to go into. But you're right. Like if you're wanting to contact other people, then just take that and do it to yourself. I absolutely love that. Let's talk more about your flaunt framework. You've been working with it for a while. You found out the betrayal code in it. So when you're working with clients today, walk us through those steps, any tips and tricks you can give us. And, let's see if anybody listening today might need the help that you're offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And just keep that word flaunt with you. Whenever you feel like you're trying to cover and hide, just having that reminder to know, I open. I don't collapse and crumple. I open and I smile. That's going to help. Okay. Flaunt stands for find your fetish. And so many people are like, what do you mean? I'm in the middle of this catastrophe. And you're like, find your fetish. But that's the energy of joy. Your fetish is that thing. It's like play. Kids play for the sake of play. They don't play to impress people. They don't play to develop better skills. They play because it's fun. And that really is the place to start, because when you're hurting, especially, we need to tap back into that fun, because what we focus on grows. So is it dance? Is it painting? Is it singing? Is it creating a space in your home? Is it cleaning something up? Is it an animal, nature, walks, whatever it is? Find that thing that brings you joy and start there. And then the L in flaunt, it kind of tags onto that, but it stands for laugh out loud. Scientifically speaking, laughter is the number one way to calm and to re-regulate the nervous system. And when the nervous system is out of whack, we do not think rationally. We get back into the survival portion of our brain instead of into the prefrontal cortex. When you're in the survival portion of your brain, you're in fight, flight, freeze, or fix, and you cannot make good, safe, rational decisions. So find your fetish and laugh out loud. Not only does it feel good, but it puts you back in the thinking portion of your brain. And when you're in that part of your brain, now we can start taking steps. The next part of flaunt is AU. And that is what I call the golden center of flaunt, because that is where so much magic happens. And the AU stands for accept unconditionally. Accept yourself unconditionally. I am this weight, this size, this gender. I live on this planet at this, like all of those things. I made these decisions. I made these choices. I am where I'm at. We waste so much time being like, well, I should have moved to Iowa when I was 18, and then I should have gone to school, and I shouldn't have married. Oh my gosh, that is just wasted energy. Accept where you are at and what is going on in your life unconditionally. But also accept other people unconditionally, because we always wish somebody were different. We always think they're going to change. We always are waiting on their potential. When we accept everything unconditionally, that's where we start. And then once we're in that state of complete acceptance, that's when we go into the N, which is navigate. And I love the word navigate, because I think a lot of us are action oriented, and the world tells us, like, you can just do this thing. You go from point A to point B, and then you go from B to C. And then we think, oh my gosh, the universe is out to get me because it's so difficult and it's not working. It's not supposed to work. Very few things are point A to point B. Usually you have to go over, around, under, through. Like, we get delayed. We have detours. It's okay. And when you think about like an ocean liner navigating across the Atlantic Ocean, no, they don't go in a straight line. There's a storm, they pause. There's another storm, they have to go backwards. They have to go around. It's okay. You navigate. You don't just zip straight line it. And then the very last step of flaunt, and I think it's one of my favorites, is what we were talking about earlier. Trust in your truth. Yes, reach out, get help, read books, but run everything through the filter of your heart, your gut. How does this feel for me? How does this feel for me right now? Because unless it's a full body yes, then I'm not sure you should be doing it, because it's about you, and nobody is like you, and nobody else knows how you feel and what you think. So trust your truth, own your decisions for good or for bad.
That is beautiful. That is a great unraveling and putting back together process all in one. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. I love that. I appreciate you coming on the show today so much and being so vulnerable with all of your stories and taking the time to pull apart channeling your system, how you worked through it. Before we hop off here, do you have any advice to any of our beginners out there, whether in the self-love category, dealing with core wounding? I know we just went through the flaunt program, so that we might be repeating ourselves again, but that accept unconditional is just such a powerful one in there. I mean, what a great thing smushed between all of those. But to our beginners out there, Laura, what would you say to them to get started and to contact you if they need help on any part of their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I want to say to your beginners is, because I went through this too, so often we think we're doing it wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. There is no wrong. And when you just switch your perception around to it is what it is, and I can make a different choice from here. But you're not wrong. You're never wrong. And yes, if you want to get in touch with me, first you can download my free betrayal recovery guide and just go to betrayal-recovery-guide.com. And I take you through the 5 stages of healing. You get a downloadable meditation, some spiritual insight, a recorded video from the Librarians. So lots of good stuff there at betrayal-recovery-guide.com. And you can also check out my website, which is loracheadle.com.
Well, I'll have all that below for y'all if you'd like to go check her out. Add her on Instagram. Check out all of the wonderful things that she has to share with you. And again, thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story and being so vulnerable about your experiences.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Have a wonderful day, friends. We'll see you on the next episode.